Hey everybody, how are you? Let me take these off while I do my introduction because that part's not going to go on YouTube, but this is. Side note, do you guys all know that all of these live on YouTube, that you can access all of our previous conversations on YouTube? I will put the link in, or maybe Mia can throw the link to our playlist in. It's a great list to subscribe to because, if you ever want a topic, we're pretty specific. So speaking of topics, I am super excited to have the Joe Taylor group with us today. We've got Joe Herrera and Taylor Prince. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And here's the deal. The Joe Taylor group is out of Las Vegas and have been on my radar for a long time. And I pretty much had to stalk and hound them, and really have been following their rise for a long time. But we've only really gotten to know each other, this last year. And I think what struck me is that you have this huge team of up to 100 agents at a given time, and you've really in the last few years just shot up in your revenue share, with like a couple thousand people in your rev share at Real Brokerage. And so today, I wanted to be a conversation about growth, about growth on your team, because most of the people watching, that's going to be relevant. But when you recruit and attract over 2,000 agents, or even if it's not over 2,000, over 1,000 or 1,500, there's stuff to talk about, right? The other cool thing, Joe, is that I just interviewed you on stage at Inman last week, and we got to talk a lot about your content, and I'd like to dive in a little bit more on how you're using content and all of this growth.
Awesome.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
First question, can one of you guys kind of walk us through like what your team looks like now so that everybody has a context?
Yeah, so Taylor and I partnered up in 2005. The concept at the time was I would be the listing agent, he would be the buyer's agent. And then as we started to get busy enough, we started bringing on buyer's agents. At first, it was kind of a bro sesh. Taylor and I brought on a bunch of young, like alpha male buyer agents. The next iteration of our team was Taylor and I were still heavily involved in its leadership, and it really became like the mom brigade. So as we got a little bit older, we realized there were so many amazing female entrepreneurs getting back into the workforce, and they had chose real estate as their new avenue for success. And so kind of the 2.0 post-recession version of the Joe Taylor Group was Taylor and I running a team with a lot of like high-powered female entrepreneurs who had put their career on hold to raise kids and were like, I'm ready to kill it again. So that was like the 2.0 version. The current version is 3.0, where Taylor and I really, so we talked about this a little bit on stage with Veronica at Inman. Like, I believe every successful agent needs inspiration, opportunity, accountability, consistency, persistence.
Wait, say those things again. What are they all?
So inspiration, like in order to succeed, you need somebody to inspire you. Accountability, you need somebody that you respect to hold you accountable. Okay. Opportunity, you need people to talk to that are buying and selling homes, whether you self-created or somebody helps you. And then you need to be persistent and consistent. So if those 5 things are the makeup of our team, Taylor and I probably we are for sure the opportunity creation piece, where we do a lot of lead generation for our agents. And if it's not direct lead distribution, it's education around the creation of opportunity. And then probably inspiration. Like Taylor and I think are extraordinary individuals in the real estate space, and we're like super normal dudes that to some degree accidentally succeeded. So it's like there's some inspiration there, right? Like my dad is not Mike Ferry, or I'm not Gary Keller's nephew. There's none of those things. Like Taylor, a couple of guys from Nevada that neither of us graduated from college. He got way closer than I did, and we just kept at it. We're like, one of my favorite movie moments is in Catch Me If You Can, Leonardo DiCaprio. And Christopher Walken talks about this. There were two mice, and they both got tossed into a bowl of cream or milk, and one of them drowned, and the other one kept trying to get out until it turned into butter, and he climbed out. Right. So I would say Taylor and I are for sure the second mouse. We've just kept churning and slowly but surely been able to build. So our team right now, Taylor and I, try to serve as opportunity creators, as inspirational figures. And then on the accountability piece, there's not a ton of accountability we do one-on-one anymore with our team agents. We do more holding the agents' leadership team accountable. So Taylor and I both have direct individuals in our organization that report to us. Our team, Jessica, is the Joe Taylor Group out of Las Vegas. We currently operate in Las Vegas. We have satellite teams in Utah, California, and DC, Maryland.
Yeah, and I would just say one thing too on the team. Joe mentioned 5 things, and like probably even as little as 5-6 years ago, we focused so hard on the opportunity and accountability. And it was very much of, we're going to give you guys a bunch of leads, and so you better work really hard. Like that was our focus, was we're going to give you this, so you better do this. And I love, like Joe's, famously been saying these 5 things. And I love that he's added in the inspiration part, because where our business is at today, where we've evolved from of a team of like, we're going to give you a ton of opportunities and you better work really hard. I feel like where we're at today is we're still going to give you a bunch of opportunities, but we're also going to inspire you. We're going to work with you. We're going to mentor. We're going to coach. We're going to work from a mindset of abundance and collaboration and mentorship and high level, like rocket fuel type principles, to give you everything that we got from the people that were important in our lives. And so I've seen a shift in who we are versus who we were when we started in 05 as more of an abundance mindset. And we want to inspire you, because if you do well, like, we're so proud. It just makes us so happy to see somebody in our world grow from a brand new agent to a top producer to a small team to a massive team to just crushing it. Like that has become our new dream, where in the past the dream was just close all our leads and give us 50% on the split, to where now I feel like Joe and I both are in a spot where we relish in other people's successes, and it's not something we always looked for.
So going back to 2005, I'm curious, not everybody wants, and I say 100-person team. I know at a given time that count can vary, but I'll call it that. Not everybody wants a big team, but a lot of people do, right? A lot of people do. And I'm curious, when you guys first started, what was the driving motivation for the decision to go big? Or did you even have that? When you started, did you just kind of jump in? Did you just kind of look at each other and say, hey, if we're going to do this, it's going to be big? Like, what did that look like? How did you, I'm looking for the mindset of at the beginning of how you got here.
I'll say, I know Joe's got a lot of thoughts on this. I will say, and I talked a little bit about this on Inman when we were doing our interview there, but people put so much time and planning into going on a trip, like a dream trip. They look at pictures, they just figure out all the best restaurants, the sites, the trails, the roads they're going to take, the car rental. Like, it's a whole process. They plan so much down to the detail of, on this day at 12:05, we're going to hit the lagoon and we're going to catch this like tour to this place, and we're going to see this super rare, almost extinct manta ray, and like everything is planned. I will say, for me, when Joe and I started the Joe Taylor Group in 2005, like the plan was, how can we get the coolest logo? Like, that's the most important thing, is we need a great logo and we need a great name of the business, and then we'll just figure it out. There wasn't a ton. I mean, there was some planning, and we had goals of how many houses we wanted to close, but it wasn't in 05 when we started the team. It wasn't like, we want to get to 100 agents. It was just, let's just have some fun and make a bunch of money. And so what was lacking then was a plan, and what we have today, still not a perfect plan, and maybe not as good as the dream trip plan, but we have a much better plan in place.
Yeah. The only thing I would add, the big driver was, we figured out, so we were big Craig Proctor guys initially, and he's not as active in the real estate coaching world as he once was. But he kind of taught us the power of doing what anyone else can do, but just saying it in a way that creates additional opportunities. Like agents are so afraid to market. I put on my Instagram account today, I rewrote our buyer script, our text message, that like perfect text message. And in it, it references interest rates and agents. So I've got 65 comments on my post so far today. And a lot of the feedback I get is, well, what if I can't get that interest rate? And I'm like, guys, you're missing the whole point. And so like for us, we learned how to create a market. We're not afraid to do the like, hey, if we can't sell your house, we'll buy it ourselves type of stuff that Craig kind of architect. And then as that became, looking back at like 2011, 12, 13, as we got really heavy into social media lead creation, for us, the team growth was really spurred on by an overabundance of lead opportunities. Like we create Zillow quality leads and distribute them to our agents. And so it's always like, man, if we have 10 agents, they're going to average in today's economy, maybe 8 deals a piece a year. Well, let's go get 100 agents. And then rather than doing 80 deals, let's do 800 deals. Because for us, lead generation is just a knob.
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose behind going big now is all based on mass opportunity creation. And then I speaking for myself, I'm sure Taylor would agree, like it's just as easy to train and mentor 100 agents as it is to do 10. Anything over like 1-to-1 just becomes a one-to-many situation. So then it becomes, we both, Taylor and I both had in our early days when we were in our 20s, early 20s, we both did missionary service. And he was in a way cooler place than I was. He was in Africa and I was in Washington. But it was all organized.
Wait a minute. What do you mean cooler? What Washington were you in?
Spokane.
Well, hey, buddy. Oh, well,
so
Spokane.
now you agree.
All right.
Yeah.
No, Spokane.
So now
okay.
you agree. I actually loved it. I loved it, by the way. But my son's in the same place that Taylor.
He was in a cooler place. I agree.
Yeah. But it was all organized by districts and zones. And so then we've kind of, as we've grown, followed that same pattern of everybody needs a leader and one person can't lead 100, but one person can lead 10 who lead 10. And so we've kind of followed that same batch leadership model of, growth.
Did you guys both start in production? I mean, you sold real estate.
Yeah.
Did you guys sell a lot of real estate, or did you kind of do that and then move on to recruiting and working?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. My name on a contract as the agent, my best year was probably 15 units or something like.
Okay.
So the thing I love about real estate is I got burnt out so fast on being a buyer's agent. Like within 18 months to 2 years, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah. So then the listing side, I enjoyed a little bit more. And now it's all in the marketing and leadership side. And so when people ask me what I do for a living, I'm like, it's kind of a weird answer. I sell real estate, I guess. But in reality, I'm a marketing guy. I'm a coach. I'm a mentor. I'm a network. So it's kind of a weird thing. Taylor was in production. Taylor, I don't even know what you could say units of production.
Yeah, it's funny, like units of production. I know I had some 30 plus years, but back in those days when it was Joe and I and our expenses were so low and like it was all we needed. And now that we're in the world we're in, seeing our own people doing 50, 60 deals, like people on our team doing that much, I'm like, man, we were just like little fish swimming around, just, doing, but it wasn't, I don't know that production and Joe and like, we moved pretty quick from our own production numbers to getting to a point where we could have the leadership and have the team and have them. If we could get 5 agents doing 30 deals, it was way better than us each doing 30.
I know we have a lot of young bucks that watch this, right? I just want to kind of point out back then, you guys were really trailblazers because there were not a lot of teams back then. And I mean, I just wasn't exposed to that. Like I didn't even know, and I'm not making excuses, but I just didn't know that was even a thing. And so I remember when I was first exposed to teams, it was like 2011 or 2012. I went to this conference. I'm like, wait, what? People get to what? What? Huh? And I mean, I just remember my head exploding, literally exploding. And within 12 months, I, screwed up a whole bunch of fun things. And, I had a big, I mean, like I just, and so the fact that, you guys were thinking like that back then, I just like, that's unusual. Ben Kinney is the only person I can think of that back in the day was kind of thinking that way, actually.
Well, the team world was unique for sure, and probably even more unique than that was the partnership world. Like,
Yeah.
how did two alpha male guys married wives, like, everybody's got emotions and pride, and we made it through a recession. Like, even in addition to team is rare, partnership is super rare. Like, and so that's we entered into a partnership in '05, which was just
You're right.
unheard of. And so that's, yeah, but again, I just go back to that little mouse and in the cream. Like, we just kept working really, really hard. I wish it was even like when we made our move to Reel. So we moved to Reel with 90 agents, and now our network's 2,400. That wasn't and that was 2 years ago. It wasn't like, hey, if we really work hard, we'll get 2,400 agents in 2 years. It was like, hey, let's not go bankrupt. And this seems
Were you
really
guys
awesome.
independent before that?
Yeah, we owned our own. We've owned 2 different brokerages. So
Okay.
when we moved to Reel, we shut down our indie brokerage.
Okay, so I want to go back because I always do this. Like, I'm always extraordinarily curious about first steps, right? To me, I'm intrigued by how things. It's one thing to say, okay, we're at 100 agents on the team, 2,400 in our network now, but going back to that time, people ask me all the time when I'm coaching, consulting, and I have a lot of people reaching out, and it's just one of my joys, just Zooming with people to help them. And probably one of the most common questions I get, I've got 2 calls this week on it, are, hey, like I want to start a team. I'm a solo agent. And the first question I ask them is, okay, do you have an overabundance of leads that you can't service yourself? Oh, I don't know. Well, I want to start a team though, Vija. I want a team. Okay, great. Do you have an overabundance of leads that you can't service yourself? Because that's really where I think it starts, but I'm curious, is that where it started for you, or would you refute me? Would you kind of push back and say, no, we decided to have a team and we, created the leads? Like, where does it?
It 100% for us started there. Like, I think it's a simple math equation.
Yeah.
Every real estate agent that wants to be, like, in order to close 24 deals a year, which I would say is, kind of top producer status, you need to have at least 40 to 50 opportunities per month. So that's like intent, like ready, willing, and able, or at least 2 of the 3, like ready and able, willing and able, but maybe not ready. Anyways, you got to have at least 2 of the 3, 40 of those a month to get 2 deals out of it, right? That's a 5% closing ratio of like people that have some desire to do something. And so as a team, if you're providing lead opportunities to an agent that wants to be a 10 unit a year producer, you've got to either help them or provide for them 20 opportunities. So for me, it's always a simple math equation. Somebody's like, hey, I want to run a team of 10 people that each do 10 deals. I'm like, okay, you have to have 200 leads a month that are like decent leads. They don't have to all be like ready, willing, able, pre-approved, whatever, but you need to have 200 people. So each person gets 20 that are willing to do something so that individual can turn that something into, because even Zillow leads only convert at 3.7%. So like I'm giving you a bump and saying whatever lead you could create through open houses or whatever, close at 5%. So I think, to your point, in order to run a team, you have to have opportunities. Now there are models that we're, to Taylor's point, moving into more of a, yes, we're going to provide you with opportunities, but we're also going to be a team of education and growth. And that's part of why we partnered with Place, is to be able to provide a more complete roadmap to our agents. But if somebody's thinking of starting a team, and they do not have an overabundance of leads, it's just going to be a constant revolving door. Because you can sell somebody a bill of goods, but why do agents join a team? They join a team because they need inspiration, they need accountability, but they really also need opportunity. And if you can't provide it, people are going to leave.
Oh, 100%. One of the, I'm going to give it away every time I coach someone. So if I've coached you, you've heard this before. You know, what the best thing a rainmaker can do when they're just getting started is to provide listings. One listing with a good lead from listing plan, I call it an LFL plan. One listing run correctly can provide enough leads for one agent per month. So if you're bringing in 3 or 4 listings a month, you probably can do 3 or 4 agents a month if you have a good plan between open houses, door knocking, internet boosting, so that you're getting inquiries, right, and everything. And so, but it has to be done right. It has to be done right. And so I think a lot of agents overlook that simple fact that they're bringing in listings. They're probably bringing in lead levers that they don't even know about most of the time anyway, when I talk.
Well, and I love too, like what you're saying, Via, there's so many like non-linear opportunities there, because when you start building a team, the listings that you're trying to get as a solo agent, you actually get better at it because you now have more resources, you have more people, you have a better presentation, you have, like, instead of just going in and saying, I'm a one-man show, you show them everything that you're going to do. And then you also get to say, I have a full team behind me. So we never miss a call. We never miss an open house. We never miss an opportunity to market. So it's almost like as you build a team and do it with a plan, like you're talking about, the power of your presence and the power of your ability to get attention of buyers and sellers over the competition should go up. And that's for Joe and I. We now have, because of a lot of work that he put in early on and still continues with, our Facebook page is the #1 Facebook page for realtors in Las Vegas. And it's because of the team and because of the consistency and the persistence at that, our ability to grab attention from other people has just exponentially grown as we built that team out with a plan.
Well, let's talk about that, Joe. Let's talk about your content.
Well, really quick, one of the things that Taylor and I have learned from, like, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. Like, he's the GOAT, right? Taylor's a big Gisele Bündchen fan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan of them both.
There was one time Tom lost the Super Bowl and they interviewed Gisele, and Gisele said something that people make fun of her for, but it's actually really true. She said, Tommy cannot throw the ball and catch the ball. And like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, she sounds so stupid. And I was like, no, she's actually brilliant. Because here's the thing, to Taylor's point, if you're a listing agent or a lead generation, lead generator on your team, if you have to fulfill the leads, you're going to sabotage yourself, because you want to go to the movies and you want to go to dinner and you want to go to baseball games, like whatever. And so separating out the rainmaker activity from the water filtration specialist, right? Like the person who creates the opportunity from the person who capitalizes on the opportunity. Like, to Taylor's point, when you start a team, one of the cool things is if you have those listings, if you're like, man, this is the coolest part, I can get all these sign calls and I don't then have to leave dinner to take the call. I can have one of my agents do it. Now you start, it's not just a one-to-one, it becomes a like tripling and quadrupling of because like we've always segmented out the person who generates the lead, the person who, converts the lead, the person who facilitates the transaction. Everything gets separated because I'm always worried. I want everybody to make the next person's life a living hell. Like, I want the lead generation person to flood the agents. I want the agents to flood the escrow team. I want the escrow team to flood the escrow officers, because if an agent is responsible to generate opportunity and close deals and facilitate paperwork, they'll just sabotage themselves. And I think people don't really understand Tommy cannot throw the ball and catch the ball.
It's so good. And I do want to move on to content, but because this is such a good topic, because I think one of the best things you can do if you guys are watching or listening and you're just getting started is if you can bring 2, 3, 4 listings on a month, right? The ideal situation is if they are also buying, right? You start bringing a new agent with you, and they become the showing agent or the buyer's agent, depending on, how much you want to give away of that other transaction. And I introduce them as my listing partner. They do the open houses, they do any sign calls, like they're almost assigned to the listing. That is easily 2 pieces of business for every listing that month, right? Or, you know, if not that month, in the next like 60 days. It's the best way to get started. Then what you start doing is going, okay, now we're going to start paying, you know, Zillow or the other things to start boosting that listing and getting more leads. And you just start building from what you're already doing. I think so many people think that they just have to go write a $5,000 a month check. And they probably don't. You know, if you can bring in listings, you're already most likely bringing in enough leads to grow. But anyway. Speaking of growing, you've done a tremendous job with not just recruiting with agent attraction. And actually, let me start there. How much, staying on your team for a minute, how much of what you've done is focused recruiting versus just agent attraction where people come to you?
So on our team, it's probably 80% recruiting. Like we go to the local real estate schools, we're heavy email database people. So our team growth, we do have people proactively reach out to us. On the agent attraction side, it's been both, right? Like we have a shared friend, like Amy Youngren's one of my, like our business partners. She's up in Canada.
She's going to be on in a few weeks.
Oh, good. Yeah. That was a direct reach out to her. I was like, Aim, like I wanted to kind of share with her. She's not on our team, but she's with us at Real. So, like it's funny because we've had much more success in agent attraction, but recruiting is a lot easier. But our company, we're not allowed, you know, we're allowed. There's guidelines around quote unquote recruiting. And so like for our team, we can run ads. For our network, we can't. So there's some challenges there, but so it's almost, you know, like the recruiting to our team's 80% recruiting and 20% like magnetic, where our network is much more magnetic.
How much of a role does your Instagram and other social media play in that?
A lot. So I told the story at Inman, like I watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix and decided I was done with social media. Like I'm out, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I had this moment where I was like, I'm going to use social media to build. And then, so from that day, it's been constant growth. So to Taylor's point, I bet we've spent $750,000 on Facebook marketing in the last 10 years, you know, maybe more. So I'm going to start saying we're $1 million in because that sounds fun.
We're
$1 million into Facebook and Instagram marketing. And so like we've generated 140,000 leads on our Facebook
Is that for recruiting, buyers, sellers?
No, just buyers and sellers. But the unintended benefit is real estate agents in Vegas see our stuff constantly. So when they're, you know, frustrated with whatever, they'll come into our world. That way, as far as agent attraction, I think Instagram's been a great tool for us. As you know, I'm super active on Instagram. Like I literally went into my notes on my computer while we were talking, and I just put, quote, Tommy cannot throw the ball and catch the ball, unquote. Because I thought like realtors are going to dig that. So you're going to see a reel from me in a few days. Awesome. Like talking about Gisele Bündchen, which I'm sure my wife will love.
Well, I think it's brilliant. And I completely got it the minute you said it. So I think that's smart.
Right. So I have a whole notes on my phone or on my computer of like reels ideas. So like our Facebook page as a team is very consumer facing, lead generation. My personal Instagram is very agent based. Like I don't want consumers to see my stuff. I want agents to see my stuff and go like, this is a dude who gets it. This is a dude who gets me. How can I be in his world a little bit? So it's kind of like that give without expectation of receive. Like I just try to provide good content and then hope that, you know, in return, there'll be individuals who resonate with it and want to be a part of our world.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think some people hesitate doing videos on Instagram via, I mean, what did I say that out loud? Why do people hesitate doing videos on Instagram? Maybe you can help give me a little pep talk.
I think, yeah, I think well, I'm better looking in my mind. My
You are
voice,
better looking than me. That might be it. Actually having to look at myself is a problem.
yeah, my voice is deeper. I'm much more articulate in my mind.
You
When
are.
I watch my own videos, I'm like, bro, like you need to lose weight. You sound stupid. Your voice is squealy. So I just think we are so compassionate toward other people. Like I see other people's videos all the time and I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Like great content. They're like, really? I hated the way I sound or my hair looks stupid. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think any of that stuff. So I think to me, I believe that the biggest problem is number one, we're too critical of ourselves, physical appearance and things like that. And then number two, there is so much entrepreneurship in the real estate space. And
Entrepreneurship.
yeah, we all hate it, right? Like I know that there are real estate agents that take pictures with other people's Porsches and doing, you know what I mean? Like it's not real. They're not actually the person they say they are. And because we know that, we're like, I don't want to be like that. So then that keeps authentic people from actually making content. So the number one thing somebody would need to do, and if they want to become active in this, is they've got to be authentic. And the reality is people dig authentic content. And so I try as much as I can to be the same person in a video that I am on a Zoom, that I am in person, that I am with my wife, that like, and not everybody will like it. Like, so, but I think the two hacks I would say is number one, just be kind to yourself. And number two, don't do what I do. I don't even watch my own stuff. Like I'll have a video guy creates it. I kick it out there and I'm like, I'm not even going to watch it. And then some people are like, hey, that video was great. And I'm like, oh, really? What'd you like about it? And I am genuinely curious because I don't even remember what I said. Because I know if I watch my own stuff, I'm going to sabotage it and go like, no, I sound stupid. I look stupid. My hair looks stupid. I look fat. I'm not articulate. I stumble. I say, and so I just don't watch my own stuff. And then magically I'm a lot more kinder to the videos I don't see.
Taylor, do you do any of that stuff on social?
Yeah. Everything Joe just said, like the advice for people who should be more active is not everything, but a lot of those reasons are the reasons I don't. It's also because there is something like in finding the normal and natural things that bring you joy and bring you good energy. And I've learned, like, I'm at a point in my career where there are certain things that I can choose not to do because they may take energy away from who I am and from what I want to do versus like when you're building a business, there's some things you just have to do. Like there's some puddles of cow crap you have to just trudge through to get to the goal on the other side. And so I try, like for me, it's very easy to share stuff about family and stuff that's very authentic and genuine, like obviously personal to me. But as far as the like creating videos and stuff, to me, it's work and it takes planning. And it's just like, I would say like meal planning. Anytime somebody's trying to do some new Mediterranean diet or Whole30 or whatever, the secret to doing that is meal planning. Like if you have all the groceries and you know what you're going to cook and it's in the freezer and you just pull it out, defrost, microwave, boom, go and you eat, you'll succeed. And so if social media posting is not normal and natural to you and it's not something that brings you immense joy and like endorphins and serotonin release from the likes and comments and all that stuff, then you have to make a plan and then let the plan become like your governor. Let it become the master of your day and just time block and all that. So I'm definitely nowhere near Joe's talent and ability at that. And even more important that I'm nowhere near his consistency.
Yeah, that's
If you could
you're
just save that
so
clip via
consistent. Yeah,
and
it's
nowhere near Joe's talent and abilities and just like
it's actually going to live on YouTube, so you can clip
it.
it. That would be a good Instagram thing. There's a question that I've been wanting to ask you guys, and I didn't get a chance to last time because it wasn't really a relevant topic at Inman, but I know we have like, a few more minutes left. So I'm really curious to hear this. I talk to a lot of people who want big teams. Side note, not everybody does want a big team. I talk to a lot of people who don't, but I talk to a lot of people who do. And I've been waiting to ask you this. Why do you think it is that some people never get there? That some people just never get to a point, they have team implosions, they, you know, they just, or they can't attract or recruit. Like what's, how did you get there, and what have you experienced? Because you guys coach and mentor a lot of teams too, right? What stops them, do you think, from getting there?
Well, I'll just share my 2 cents. I think number one, people never really, everyone is a leader to somebody, but the reality is, I think a lot of the common failure I see is people try to lead the wrong type of person. So like we've had, even since Taylor and I have stepped away from like daily leadership of our team, there's times where we're like, we put somebody in a leadership position, but the people on the team won't follow that person. Like Taylor and I crushed it with the female entrepreneur coming back into the workplace. For some reason, we just found a niche where we were kind of like sometimes big brother, sometimes little brother. And like, we were just like their cheerleader, and they loved it. And we crushed it. And then we brought in, we would bring in like a strong female presence, and then they didn't like it. They felt like it was competitive. And then like the bro sesh stuff, sometimes they responded really well to that alpha male. And then we bring in, you know what I mean? So it's like, and then you look at like Spring Benson, and so much of her team is alpha males, and they love being led by an alpha female. And so it's like, I think a lot of times when people are building their teams, they don't think about the meshing of the personalities. Because the reality is, I've noticed I've got I'm a very outgoing person, and there's certain people that just don't like me. And like that, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but there's just a reality is some people just wouldn't follow me.
Yeah.
Taylor's much easier to follow. But even Taylor from time to time, it's like the greatest joy in my life is when Taylor pisses somebody off. And I'm like, yeah, somebody doesn't like Taylor, because I'm so used to being bad cop. But I think people start teams, and then they just hire everybody, and they don't put two and two together, that like, just because you can party together, or just because you enjoy going to barbecues or shopping or lunch or even vacationing together. Like some of Taylor and I's best agents are people that we wouldn't necessarily, cruise the Caribbean, but they kill it. And so sometimes we just confuse friendship with entrepreneurship. We confuse like interpersonal relations with leadership. So I think just getting really linear, and just going like, historically speaking, in my office, who are the people that are coming to me all the time saying like, hey, what would you do here? What would you do there? What would you do there? That's probably the type of individual that would follow your guidance. But you may look down on that person because you're like, I don't want them on my team. They need too much help. Well, then why would somebody join your team if they don't need your help? So anyways, Taylor's
right. I know you guys have to run, but Taylor, anything to add? I'm really curious.
Yeah, just two quick points on that, which I think it's a leadership problem, and not like the ability to be led by others is also a leadership trait that a lot of people don't recognize. And so it's almost it's a pride in a leadership. Some people, when they see somebody that knows more than they do, that doesn't lead them in the way they want to be led, they instantly say, I have to find a new team. I have to find a new lead source. I have to find a new mentor, new leader. And what I've noticed, why people, you asked the question, like, why is it that some people just never get there? A lot of times we've had the most talented, like natural sales ability people in our world, that they put up this false wall, this ceiling in their mind, that I have to be led this way. I have to get this split. I have to be making this much money within 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And it's just like, it's learning to love the process. We love setting goals. We love the outcome, but the people who learn to love the process and can see, like, for the next 2 years, I'm going to let Via lead me, and it's going to be like going to Harvard, and I'm going to get paid. Like, I'm going to like the Harvard of real estate, and I'm getting paid to do it. 2 years from now, I'll sit down, look at what I've learned. And at that time, if I want to go form my own team or part ways, whatever. But sometimes we get so hung up on like the immediacy of, I need to hit these results today. and we forget about the process. So learning to love the process would be the people that I've seen make it can love each moment, each day, and just find joy in like the hard days and getting rejected and the hard days when, so learn to love the process.
Well, thank you guys. I know you got to run. I really, really appreciate it. This was kind of an unrehearsed one and one of my faves. I took more notes on this one than I have in a while. So thank you guys. Really appreciate you. And I'm super happy to be your partner. So
Yeah.
Thanks, Vija.
all right, guys, we will talk soon. And everybody, we are not having a webinar next Wednesday because Chris Suarez and Brendan Burchard are doing a live webinar at noon Pacific time. So we are going to email you a follow-up with that link. If you have not gone to one of Chris and Brendan's webinars, they are amazing. I learned something at the last webinar. I've now done weekly for about a month, and it has been game-changing for me, absolutely game-changing. It's called the Friday Finisher, and this is thing I now email to Ben and Chris every Friday, and I cannot stress enough how great it is. So definitely go to that, and then we will resume the following Wednesday with, I believe we have Amy Youngren, who we mentioned, which is kind of funny timing. Thanks for hanging out, and come see us on YouTube. Bye-bye.